This is the tutorial for Lesson 3C. Please open the file called Lesson 03C Start. It should look like this. Okay, in the previous two tutorials, we have looked at the clone stamp and the healing brush, the spot healing brush, and the patch tool. We talked about in those tutorials how the clone stamp is really not good for using on human skin. So I'm going to demonstrate for you now why that doesn't work. So using the clone stamp, if I want to get rid of this man's forehead wrinkles, if I use the clone stamp, it just looks a little harsh, and you can easily see that it's not real. You can see how the skin starts to look weird. So I'm going to Option Command Z back a few times. Actually, back to the beginning, and I should duplicate my file. So right click, duplicate layer, call this working layer, hide my background, and I will just work on the working layer. Okay, so clone stamp is not really great for skin. It might work okay on something like this shirt, but it would be tricky and would work best on a small area. Let's see, for example, if I needed to add another polka dot, I could option click this one and then move here and bingo, a new polka dot. So the clone stamp is great, it's just not great on skin. Okay, so let's try our healing brush. Remember, it works the same way as the clone stamp in that you have to option click to the area you want to clone from, then paint, and notice how the plus sign moves with the brush, so it's showing you where it's cloning from. But when I let go, the healing brush blends, so we do not have that weird artificial looking edge there. So the healing brush is a good choice to use on human skin. If it's a small area you need to fix, the spot healing brush will probably work. Let's see if I can improve the picture a little bit by fixing this blemish. Just a simple click, and some pixels are generated, and suddenly the pimple is gone. You might try it for some of this redness here on his neck as well. You want to be careful and do this very sparingly, because if you do it too much, like this, you get really strange shadows and you get cloning material brought in that you never intended. Command Z to undo that. Okay, so the next healing tool that we've learned is the patch tool. And with that one, you select the area you want to fix and then click inside and drag to an area that looks like a good patch. It does blend your selections together, so it softens it a little bit. In this case, however, I don't think it was a particularly good repair. You can see here that it pulled in some of this material from a little too far away, and we have kind of a strange looking repeated pattern there. So in this particular photo, the healing brush and the spot healing brush seem to work really well. Patch tool is not necessarily so useful, but that doesn't mean that it wouldn't work on your picture of a person that you're dealing with. It just depends on where the damage is and how you are most comfortable repairing it. Now, something I want to remind you of with all of these healing tools, they do blend. So you have to be really careful where you are cloning from, because if you get anywhere close to something that's really the wrong color, you're going to end up with really strange things that you didn't intend to have on your picture. Now it does attempt to blend, but it still looks pretty weird. Okay, so at this point I'd like you to pause this tutorial and practice using the healing brush, the spot healing brush, maybe the patch tool, to give this gentleman a bit of a makeover. See if you can eliminate his wrinkles and some of his redness without making him look unnatural. The goal here is a beautifully retouched photo, not a strange and bizarre creation. Okay, welcome back. Now that you have finished smoothing out this gentleman's skin, I thought I would teach you a little bonus skill, and we're going to look at tooth whitening. A lot of times when you're working on a picture, especially when you zoom in, you will notice that the person's teeth are maybe just a little bit yellow. Now you don't want to overdo this, because if the teeth are too white, it will not look natural. But you can use the Dodge and Burn tool to make them just a little bit whiter. So the Dodge and Burn tool is this one here. It looks like a little circle with a line coming out of it. If you hold that down, you'll see that you have Dodge and Burn as well as the sponge. So what Dodge does is it makes things look lighter, and what Burn does is the opposite. It makes them look darker. So right now what we want to do is make the man's teeth lighter. So we'll use the Dodge tool. You notice that you have some setting options up here. I think this looks okay the way it is. So I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller so that I can stay in the area of his teeth, and just a little bit, just kind of paint on those teeth. And again, you don't want to overdo this, because you don't want the teeth to look unnaturally glaring. And watch as you're doing it too, because sometimes you'll get an unexpected effect. Like here, as I'm clicking, this tooth is turning almost orange and it's kind of glowing. So I need to back up a little bit and be really careful with where I am using my Dodge tool. Also, a good practice when you're doing this kind of edit is to zoom out once in a while. When you're zoomed in this close, it's easy to lose perspective, but when you zoom out, then you can see the full effect and see if you like your repair. When you have brightened the man's teeth to a natural looking, slightly whiter shape, you can go ahead and take your screenshot of this picture and turn that in for your grade for Lesson 3C.